Hello, and welcome to our Syxsense Spotlight webinar. Today, I am joined by Syxsense CEO Ashley Leonard, who will be diving into the topic of intelligent automation. If you have any questions for Ashley, please drop those into the chat and we will follow up with you after the session. We will also be sending out the link to the recording, so please feel free to share this with your colleagues that are interested in the topic as well. With that, I will pass it over to Ashley.
Thanks, Kristen. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We are talking about intelligent automation versus artificial intelligence. Obviously, there's been a lot of buzz around artificial intelligence recently. And so today we're going to spend a few minutes to talk about some of the pros and cons of artificial intelligence, but also what you can actually do today to prepare for the real implementation of artificial intelligence inside of your organization. We're going to start off with just a quick overview for those of you that are not familiar with Syxsense. Syxsense really is a true innovator in endpoint management and vulnerability management. And we've really helped define a new space. According to Gartner, the new space is defined as unified endpoint security, where we bring together visibility and control over all of your assets, the ability to automate the patching, but also the security vulnerability scanning and remediation of security vulnerabilities into a single platform, single agent, and tied together with automation. It really is a very unique technology and a unique company in that we're able to not just tell you about your security vulnerabilities, but actually remediate them using pre-built automated remediations built by our security research team in-house here at Syxsense. If you've not checked us out, please do. We win a ton of awards, as you can see from the screen, but we're going to move on. And we actually have some breaking news. We have recently merged with Absolute Security. So Syxsense is now part of the Absolute Security family. And if you're not familiar with Absolute Security, it's a world leader in cyber resilience. Absolute is actually installed on hardware on over 600 million PCs. So almost every PC manufactured actually has Absolute on the hardware. And that allows for some really unique capabilities at managing your endpoints even before the operating system loads. You're actually, with Absolute Solutions, able to track your assets. You're able to manage your assets from power on all the way up through the operating system load, right the way up to the application layer. In fact, think about how this could have impacted your organization if you were one of the customers that dealt with the recent CrowdStrike issues. If you were an Absolute customer, you would actually have had a remote ability to fix and remediate a lot of those issues without the need to actually go and touch the keyboards. Now, that capability combined with Syxsense gives you complete control of your PC fleet all the way from power up through OS load into the operating system and right the way through to the application layer of your environment. Very unique capabilities together with the combination of Absolute and Syxsense. Well, today, as we mentioned, we're talking about AI, but not just AI, we're also talking about intelligent automation, which we believe is a key building block to your organization actually being able to implement AI within the organization. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about, is AI really ready? How's it being used? And what are some of the things that you can do in your organization today to get ready for it? So we're going to start with a little story. And the story is about a man. He's walking down the street, in any suburban neighborhood, and he sees a child. He's got a little stall set up, and he's selling things, and he's selling toothbrushes. And when the child sees the man walking down the street, he says, "Hey, sir, would you like to buy one of my toothbrushes?" Well, the man's like, "Well, I would, but I kind of already have one at home, so I don't really need one right now. But I do have a tip for you because I'm a sales expert. If you really want to be successful in sales, It's really important that you have the right product with the right features at the right time. Well, anyway, the next day, the man's out walking again. Maybe he's walking his dog, going down the street, and he sees the boy again, but selling something a little bit different. There's a sign saying brownies for sale, and he heads to the boy and says, "Hmm, I'm actually feeling a little hungry. I wouldn't mind a brownie." And so, of course, the boy sells him a brownie. He takes a big bite of the brownie and then immediately spits out the brownie. Wow, that tastes like dog poo. Uh, the kid laughs and says, "Well, it is. Oh, by the way, would you like to buy a toothbrush?" Well, what's the moral of that story? I think the moral of the story is that it's important to have the right features, the right technology, but it has to be aligned for the right time when you or maybe your organization is ready to adopt that technology. If you get that wrong, you're going to have problems. So that's really, I think, the moral of what we're seeing with AI. We're seeing a lot of vendors today that are implementing AI in their technology, but when you actually look at what it's doing, it's not really a value, right? Again, it's like having a toothbrush when you don't really need one, not a lot of use. We're seeing a lot of vendors putting AI in, and I like to call it that they're AI washing their product, right? It's like whitewashing a wall or something. It puts a very thin layer of AI, but it's not really changing the core product. And I think that approach is not the right way to think about how AI should be adopted in IT security, but also perhaps in your organization. So let's delve into this a little bit more detail. Well, it's if you think about it, it's about risk. We're all in IT security, and our primary responsibility is to help our organizations reduce their IT security risks. And AI can be a great tool, and I think will be an incredibly powerful tool in your toolbox to help you secure your organization. It promises things like increased productivity, improved accuracy, your ability to respond to threats faster in your organization. You'll be able to detect potentially evolving threats, and that can help your organization stay protected. It can be an advantage even, and it can improve your engagement with your customers, whether your customers, your end users, or if you're an MSP, perhaps your customers are external to you. But also, it's important to understand some of the risks that AI brings to this environment as well. We're seeing AI being implemented in a shadow nature within organizations. Now, in your organization, how many people do you think are using ChatGPT? Have you asked that? Have you analyzed to see who's installed ChatGPT perhaps on their computers or are using a browser maybe just to access it? Um, and then think about, well, if you now have shadow AI inside your environment, well, what's happening to your data? How's that being consumed? How's that going in to train AI models that could potentially help or hurt a competitor? So you think about it, AI especially shadow AI is potentially exposing what could be very sensitive data to organizations outside in the outside world. I think it increases also the complexity of your supply chains as well. Um, GRC obviously has become an important topic for a lot of organizations now. It's not just about securing your own environment, but it's also making sure your supply chain is secured as well. Well, how are your vendor partners also working with AI? And if they are using AI, is that potentially exposing your organization to risk? There's regulatory issues. You've got to think about the evolving regulatory environment. The US perhaps is lagging a little bit behind Europe, but you've got to expect that more and more regulatory requirements will be placed around AI. That can be an advantage. It can also potentially be a disadvantage as well. I think you can also become over reliant on AI. There's been some recent cases, I think, where a lawyer, and you probably read about this, used AI to cite case law, and the AI hallucinated or made up an answer that was non-factual, and the lawyer got caught and embarrassed the lawyer, and obviously caused issues with their case. So sometimes that reliance on AI can be a risk as well. And then I think it's very important also to understand that it's not just the good guys using AI, the bad guys are also using AI as well. And they're using AI in a lot of different ways. So if you think about how AI can be used by threat actors, they're using it to generate intelligence gathering a lot faster. Um, you can easily put in a company's name into an AI model and then build out prompts in that AI model to gather information about how that organization works. And the AI model is going to actually pull data from a lot of different sources to put together a picture of the organization. It's being used to engineer code much more rapidly. And this is fairly interesting because if you look at traditional signature-based antivirus tools, they obviously identify a signature, and the signature often built off a hash, can be used to identify a threat. Well, it's very easy on the fly with AI to build new code that performs the same task but is completely new and therefore doesn't match a known hash. So it allows you to evade a lot of kind of more of the legacy type antivirus tools. You can actually use AI to reverse engineer code and algorithms. You can use it, well, threat actors are using it to improve their efficiency, not necessarily a good thing. They're using it to generate a lot of malicious code. So there's a ton of use cases here where threat actors themselves are using AI to better design not just the threat content, but also better phishing emails to actually get the malware actually into the organization, even in the first place. We're seeing less of the Nigerian prince emails, right? We're even seeing AI now being used as well to generate audio messages, maybe to get two-factor prompts from an end user, and in some cases even video as well. So again, a lot of risk for how AI is being used by the threat actors themselves. Now, we're obviously on the good guy side, and so it is a technology and tool which we can use as well to allow us to understand the risks within our organization. And I always like to say, when I'm approaching a kind of new customer environment, the first thing you've got to start with is to understand what you have. And it's not just the hardware you have, it's the software, it's the applications, the operating systems, but also the configuration of those. And that can't be a one-off process. Those are changing on a constant basis. So AI can actually be used to help you identify what you have, but also perhaps more importantly, how that's actually evolving and changing over time. Very important for a starting point. And then once you understand what you have, AI can also be used to help gather and prioritize threat intelligence as well. Often, a lot of organizations, when they're starting down this path, have got a lot of vulnerabilities. So it's important to understand where you should start that remediation process. And it's a good idea to start with where your biggest risks are. And AI can certainly help identify what your biggest risks are and help prioritize your remediation efforts. And then ultimately can help with delivery of those remediations as well. Now, can all of this be done with AI? Well, our argument is no. And there's a lot of reasons why we believe you should start with automation. AI today AI's been around for a long time, right? We've been using AI technologies for many, many years. In fact, if you've got an Amazon Alexa in your home, or if you're a Netflix user, well, guess what? You've been using AI, right? Obviously, Alexa is using AI to respond to your questions. Netflix is using AI to be able to give you suggestions around perhaps what you should want to use next. What's really changed, I think, in the last 2 years is the interface to AI, and that's happened with the delivery of LLMs, or large language models, like ChatGPT. So we now have a new, much more friendly interface into AI with ChatGPT and other LLM models. The problem is, as you probably are aware, these models have been trained on large data sets, which are typically data from the internet. And as I think we all know, the internet is not necessarily always the most reliable, accurate source of information. That problem is causing what we today call hallucinations, where the AI models can actually give you incorrect information, or in some cases, just make up their own answers. And so, if you were to give your security infrastructure to an AI model to run and operate today, that would be a big problem because AI is not 100% yet today. So at Syxsense, the approach that we're taking is we're working with what we call intelligent automation, which is an ability for you to automate the response to events that occur within your environment, but leave it still under your control rather than actually handing it over to an AI model. Keeps you in control. It starts you on that path down to being able to ultimately, as AI technology matures, be able to hand this over to an AI to run these automations. But as I said, keeps you in control. Helps you protect your customers. It allows you to respond much quicker to events because it's automated, boosts your productivity, and keeps you and your organization safer. Some of the recent data from IBM around what the cost of a breach actually looks like is fairly interesting. The cost of breaches continues to increase. According to IBM, the average data breach globally is costing just under $5 million. $5 million. Think about that. That's a huge number. And it's not just about the cost of um, responding to the event itself, perhaps bringing in forensics, bringing in legal. Some organizations, though we would never recommend it, actually pay ransoms to ransomware events. But it's also the reputational loss that your organization might face due to the requirements in many states and countries to actually publicly disclose a breach. So the reputational loss to your business could be quite severe. And so I think that drives the potential cost of breach well above these numbers in many cases. Well, according to research from IBM, what they also found was that if you're adopting AI and more importantly, automation, you're able to bring these costs down by over half to an average of $2.22 million. You can respond quicker, you can shut the breach down faster, and you can get your organization back to operation much quicker. So, what is intelligent automation? Well, intelligent automation, it's about being proactive. It's about seeing when an event occurs in your organization. Let's say that it could be something as simple as a new patch is released. And based on that new patch being released, your organization is exposed because you're using that software that's been patched. And the appropriate response or automation might be, let's deploy that patch. To use another example, maybe the event that occurs is that there's been 3 failed logins on an endpoint in the last 2 minutes. Well, again, the response there perhaps could be to go ahead and lock the account or lock the computer. So what you're able to do is to be proactive at responding to events occurring within your environment using automation. Those automations can be adaptable and tailored for specific customers, devices, or events which are actually occurring. At Syxsense, we actually have pre-built these all in our automation engine. It's called Syxsense Cortex. And we've pre-built thousands of automations in our technology, which you can take advantage of today as a Syxsense customer. But even more powerful is the ability for you to actually go ahead and build your own automations as well. And it's all done in a drag and drop interface in Syxsense without the need to learn how to code. Obviously, many of our competitors, they know the other products out there. If you're a scripting guru, you're able to go ahead and create scripts that can be used in those tools. In Syxsense, we've actually built workflows which you drag and drop, and you're able to have everything from actions, and approvals and events all in our workflows. So you can say, if a particular event occurs, let's go ahead and get an approval, perhaps from someone, maybe notify the service desk that something's happened, and then go ahead and run a remediation to actually fix it. And it can be done with a drag and drop process without the need to code. That allows you to really take advantage of this automation platform and do it all directly within your Syxsense tools without the need to code. Even think about more mundane things about like onboarding a new employee into your organization. Well, how about having a pre-built automation that runs through the work of actually provisioning a new employee and the hardware that they need in your organization. Again, it can all be done in Syxsense with our automation platform, and it can be done without the reliance on AI yet today. But as you add AI on top of it, that ability to trigger it automatically when you need it is going to be incredibly powerful. These capabilities that we've been talking about are all in Syxsense Enterprise, which is our technology allowing our customers to manage and secure all their endpoints. It's a single unified platform for managing PCs, Mac devices, Linux devices, mobile devices, all in a single product, single agent. And by the way, that reduces supply chain risk within your IT department as well. We actually did some research recently, and we found that organizations are using somewhere between 10 to 15 different tools to manage and secure their endpoints. Now, think about that, 10 to 15 tools to manage and secure your endpoints. And that could be everything from discovery tools to patching, to remote control, to antivirus. You can see how this starts to build. Each one of those tools is a tool that your IT department needs to purchase, and it obviously is budget, a tool that they need to maintain, and a tool they need to learn how to use effectively and efficiently. We also, in that same research, looked at the number of breaches organizations had, and we correlated the number of tools versus the number of breaches that they had. And we found some really interesting results. The more tools an organization is using to manage and secure their endpoints, the more likelihood that they will experience a breach. More tools equals more risk. Now, why is that? Well, we feel at Syxsense the reason is that when you just buy a tool to try and fix a problem, that's not the right approach. Just keep buying more tools to try and keep fixing problems. They're band-aids. You're not really addressing the core problem. And in many cases, you're actually increasing risks because that's more agents that are being installed in your environment. That's more potential supply chain risk from those vendors. Think of SolarWinds, for example. It's more tools that your IT department have to learn how to use, and the more they have to learn to use, probably the less efficiently they're using those tools. And obviously, it's a lot more expensive as well. So being able to consolidate your management security tools down, you can reduce supply chain risk, you can improve efficiency of your IT department, and ultimately reduce risk. And that's really what we help our customers do with unified endpoint security, where we bring together endpoint management technologies with security tools, allowing you not just to the ability to find a security vulnerability, but then leveraging that endpoint management capability to fix it in a single tool, single agent. To automate this process, we do this through what we call Cortex intelligent automation. And again, this is that drag and drop capability we were talking about earlier. And you can see here from the graphic how visual this is. And it's built with a drag and drop interface where you're able to automate everything from monitoring, scanning, managing, patching, and remediating vulnerabilities in your environment. Incredibly powerful to automate responses to events that are happening in your organization. To show you how we do that, here's a video.
Cortex is the embedded workflow and orchestration engine at the heart of Syxsense. You don't have to be a programmer to use it. Yet it can help turn regular IT and security staff into masters of digitizing and automating any endpoint management, remediation, monitoring, or reporting task. Cortex has thousands of pre-configured steps for activities including software removal and installation, compliance policy enforcement, and configuration controls like port settings or reboot commands, and so on. This particular flow contains a step for an inventory scan, a step to deploy all patches, and a follow-up security scan. By simply dragging and dropping these steps into the workflow editor, your operations staff can create and customize powerful playbooks that can be applied to specific devices and scheduled to suit your working hours and compliance requirements. As each step is added, it's configured with any additional information or options required. This example shows how easy it is to add an email notification to a flow so that staff are alerted if patches fail to deploy. In addition to adding and customizing pre-built steps, you can also create new steps to include custom scripts, so the possibilities for you and your team are limitless.
Well, hopefully you found that interesting. Thank you again for joining us today for the webinar. If you're interested in learning more about Syxsense, go to our website, that's at syxsense.com, or you can scan the QR code on screen right now. They are safe, we've checked them. And again, hopefully you'll join us again for a future webinar. And thank you again for joining us. Bye-bye.